Okay, there's the sound. Oh my God. I hate when that's a rookie mistake. It's been a while since I did that.
Because he was just concentrating on the lighting and changing things within this set as well. And I guess, but thank you so much, Lal Norman, for the $2 super chat saying no sound. That is how we figured it out.
Oh my God.
Let me start again. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe. It really does help us out. Sorry about the no sound. What else do I say? We try to read all your comments live after each segment. However, if you would like to super chat us, we pause the whole show for those and read them out loud as well, and really helps us out.
Let's read out for the comments again. And I was just saying, Steven Jensen made a fantastic song. He sent it to us. We got to listen to it. We'll probably play it more near the end of the show. I didn't have time to grab it because we were just at IKEA.
Which is what we were just saying this whole time. And Steven Jensen, thank you so much for the $2 super chat as well, saying no sound. Do we have sound now? Glenn says this is funny, so let me start again. Steven Jensen says, hello to everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Friday as well. Mistake Friday, apparently, but thank you so much. Lal Norman says happy Friday too. Todd says, thank God it's Friday. Yes, it is. And Todd says, my hamstrings are killing me. And yes, exactly. I was just saying we kind of ran into the show because we were at IKEA trying to find things for the other sets that we're building. And Mexico City traffic is no joke. We spent about an hour and a half-ish in total.
And the main thing we needed from IKEA,
they didn't have.
Well, first of all, IKEA wasn't working online for the last 5 days, so we couldn't order anything, at least the Mexico City one. We went to get one major lamp. We got a few other things, but they didn't have that lamp. So now we got to go back in 5 days. We pre-ordered it.
Yes, because also shipping here in Mexico is insane, and they either lose it or it just doesn't work. So that's why we had to go initially. But no, yeah. And it's they put the IKEAs in the outskirts of the cities usually, but because Mexico City is so big, the outskirts are really far away from where we are, at least. As well.
And I think I'll talk a little bit about building sets once we get on the new sets. I try to make a foreground, which is the plant here, middle ground, which is usually the subject, and the background, which is other plants and lighting. But you always want to try to get a practical light in there. That's why we were shopping for a lamp.
I was just checking if we didn't have sound. Now we do. And Steven Jensen says, absolutely, I'm already here. There, dude, anytime. We're already late to the party. Todd says, tying a rebar grid for horse barn and tack that will do thatch. We'll do that to a guy. Todd says, my hamstrings are killing me. And I said, same here, because I just started working out again. I can barely move still.
Bending rebar is the worst. It would take it out of you.
Never had to do that, though. Steven Jensen says, well, if things go as discussed, there might be a little something different. No promises at this point. Not sure about what.
Maybe he's talking about the song. Can you reread that?
It says, well, if things go as discussed, there might be a little something different. No promises at this point. Let me see what he was reacting to. Still not sure.
Okay.
Let's continue really quickly. Just finish because we had no sound. Let me just finish reading your comments. Todd says, finally just seen one of Corey's ads run on YouTube.
Oh, fantastic. And I think social media is going to be the way to play those ads. It costs too much to run them on regular TV, and you just don't hit enough people. And especially, we're just going to be outspent. We have to think outside of the box for these advertising campaigns. It's really good when the other side tries to shut down Corey's campaigns, complains about the campaigns. The mayor says, take down the billboard, and then he lets it go because this gets us a ton of free advertising in the papers and the local media.
And unfortunately, we won't be able to see them because we're in Mexico, I'm guessing.
Well, we play them all, so.
We'll play the ads, but we won't get to experience it. Glenn Gunn says, have not seen that yet, so hopefully they do continue to run on the cycle. Glenn says, Carney, let's face it, doing everything to increase his bottom line. When he is done, he is out of here. Well,
the statement he gave today, and that's the first thing we're going to go over when we do get into breaking news, is absolutely shocking, especially when you couple it with what's going on in the EU today. Today is the day the EU takes over immigration from most of the countries within the EU, and they don't just take it over. They've been preparing for a long time. They've been making these super facilities where they can fit tens of thousands of migrants at a time and just flood them into these countries. We got footage of that as well. I was telling you, we've been talking about mass immigration for a while, but even I was shocked at what's going on in the EU now. And they're specifically targeting Ireland because Ireland already signed away a lot of their sovereignties to the EU again.
So Feed says, hi, and then thank you everybody for telling us there was no sound. Todd says, lip read Friday. And then people started asking if somebody can read lips. Todd says, think they're going to catch on. I guess they have to eventually read the no sound comments. And we did. So thank you so much to everybody. But let's start, as you were saying, with breaking news, because again, today is an interesting day for Europe and also for Canada, because apparently Carney is now fully aligning and looking towards the EU.
Well, I don't even know. Yeah, we'll talk about it after we show his statement, but his statement is absolutely crucial today, I think.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Extra, extra, read all about it.
Still laughing about the no sound, but let's start.
I used to get so because it used to be quite common. Now we have a permanent set, so everything's kind of set up. I just flip everything on. But man, I used to always forget the sound, and it used to kill the two people that used to watch us.
Yeah, would leave. Mark Nixon says, quote, damaging relationship, Canada-US relationship. Mark Carney tripled down, claiming the EU will lead the new world order and Canada will partner on this mission. Donald Trump is watching Canada turn its back on a century-long relationship for the EU. Is this what y'all voted for?
Yeah, this is extremely concerning because we see Mark Carney going closer and closer to the EU. Our values are the same. We want to partner with the EU, even if he doesn't become directly part of the EU, which is definitely a possibility in the direction he is going. But he's signing on to a lot of these pacts. And if he signs on to the EU immigration pact that went into effect today, which we're going to go over in detail later, that's very concerning because what they're going to do is they don't even screen the immigrants. They just let them in. Then they're legal immigrants at this point. They're no longer illegal immigrants. And then if Carney signs on to that, they'll be able to flood Canada with legal immigrants, which will be almost impossible to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses in both of our countries are doing more together in energy, defense, critical minerals, and now in AI. And to deepen our defense and industrial cooperation today, the President and I are advancing a new General Security of Information Agreement. What this means is an ability to exchange classified information between our defense, our space, our AI, and aerospace sectors.
And we can stop it there. Actually, somebody got 10 memberships. Wow, thank you.
So
we
much,
appreciate
Michael Drader, for gifting 10 memberships. And thank everybody. Thank Michael Drader for the 10 gifted memberships. Pick and Pan got a membership. David USA got a membership. Andrea Jordan, Josper, Joan X, Conservative Gal, My 2 Cents, Waniska. That's a lot of memberships. Tonio, and Outstanding Brandon. Thank you so much to everybody.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Not to everybody. Thanks so much to Michael Drader. Everybody thank Michael Drader as well.
Yeah, that was exciting. Okay, let's start the...
Hold on, because Michael Drader says casino winnings last night.
Oh, wow.
4,000. Nice.
Man, that is fantastic.
I am bad at I don't gamble or anything because I have the worst luck. And I don't understand card games or anything.
Well, I haven't drank in almost 10 years. I used to have a drinking problem, so I'd never wanted to get into gambling. God knows how that would have gone for me.
True. But thank you so much, Michael Drader, and everybody. Thank Michael Drader for that.
Let's start the Carney clip over again because it's probably the most important clip of the day.
Yes. And again, this was from today in Paris.
Businesses in both of our countries are doing more together in energy, defense, critical minerals, and now in AI. And to deepen our defense and industrial cooperation today, the President and I are advancing a new General Security of Information Agreement.
I'm sorry. I don't know if we're ever going to get past this. Somebody else gifted 10 memberships. I think everybody that's watching the show right now just got a free membership.
Probably.
So, fantastic.
So everybody. Also thank Stephen Jensen. Thank you so much for gifting 10 memberships. Michael Drader says that's the smart way now. Do you want me to read them all out? I'll just show them on screen, I guess. Aaron Amadeus, Jillian of the Age, Carson,
read them all.
El Gringo Grande, Jen T. Maxi, The Good Kilo, Alberta Independence 2025, so a while ago, Sanjali, Peter from Edmonton, Ramwanda, and Cross Stitch Joe. Also, please thank Stephen Jensen, all of you, for all those memberships. And thank you so much, Steve. And exactly as Michael Drader says, you're the man. And Glenn Gunn says, wow, Stephen, great on you too. Yeah, thank you so much to everybody for the support.
Well, and if everybody sticks in there for the majority of the show, we're going to play Stephen Jensen's song that he made. And it was absolutely fantastic. So they can thank him and listen to his music
as well. And go subscribe to him too. But, okay, now
we can just continue where we were at because we just started it.
Yes, I just needed to get over to that page. Hold on.
What this means is an ability to exchange classified information between our defense, our space, our AI, and aerospace sectors. In Yerevan, I was honored to attend, and I said at that meeting that I believe that the next world order will likely be built out of Europe, and Canada will be part of that effort. In security, as the first non-European member to join SAFE. As the President mentioned, under his leadership, Canada is a key member of the coalition of willing to support Ukraine in critical minerals, working with Minister Lutsko as a reliable supplier to our core European partners, working with our European partners to expand our collective strategic capabilities from energy to hardware, intelligence infrastructure, and space. Working together, Canada, France, and Europe are poised to be a powerful force for good in the century ahead. Alors, merci, Monsieur le Président, pour votre leadership et pour cette invitation.
And this is devastating news. And you've seen all the things that they're trying to combine. He's not going to say immigration right now because there is a lot of heat coming down, not only on the EU, but Canada. But I think there is more of a long-term strategy there. And behind the scenes, Mark Carney is going to sign on to that probably EU immigration pact that went into effect today, which signs the sovereignty of their immigration system away, at least in the EU for now. But they have no natural resources. They have nothing in the EU.
But who does?
You took the ugliest chick to the dance is what's going on here. I mean, the EU is literally going to be divided up in the next decade or two between China, Russia, and the United States.
And there's literally two failing enterprises at this point. I don't know what to call them, but Canada had been forewarning that they wanted to join the EU, and this might be just step one on the actual path to fully join if they want to bring in both of their failures and try to make them work. But again, one of the strategic plans that we have been you mainly have been talking about, and that we talked about in our video about Canada maybe joining the EU, is that Canada has a lot of natural resources. If they're able to federalize them or nationalize them, then the EU can actually leech off of the now productive Canada. They won't let each province be independent and be...
You're talking about the federalization of natural resources.
Yes, productive by themselves. But once conjoined with Europe, maybe they will start producing just for the benefit of those.
Yeah, but that's more long-term. I want to think immediate. What does this do when he's having this close ties with the EU? The immigration thing is, again, long-term. I think we're going to see that come into effect in a couple of years, maybe a year or two. The concerning thing here that has an absolute immediate effect is the relationship with the United States and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is looking at a lot of these globalist EU countries that are run by progressive leftists as threats. And they're going to use Canada as that corridor, and now intelligence sharing is going to be gathered and shared there as well. So I think this is going to hurt the USMCA, and the USMCA had already been hurt. We watched the statement just a couple of days ago from Donald Trump saying he thinks he might just cancel it, not just go to a year-on-year review.
But with information and intelligence gathering as well, Canada had already told China that they were also going to start deepening their ties. So it's interesting that for the US and the rest of the continent, the Latin American continent at this point, essentially, that has turned more towards the right, or the common sense, at least I will call it, with more and more elections going that way. Well, hold on. With more and more elections going that way, and with the Shield of the Americas, for example, that coalition forming, it's going to be interesting because now maybe the Western powers will now have to exclude both Canada at the top, but also Europe to the side. That used to be one of the biggest inclusions. But Stephen Jensen, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, and says Europe is trying to be one of the hegemon power regions, but they have nothing for resources. Glenn Beck spoke about this precise thing.
Yeah, and we used to talk about this a lot. They absolutely, there's one way, there actually is one way for the European Union to come up, and that is to befriend Russia. Russia gives them cheap oil. I don't even know if they're going to be willing to do that anymore. They were heavily reliant on Russia. Once that relationship really did get severed and all those sanctions came in, it didn't hurt Russia as much as it hurt the EU. A lot of people don't know what happened during that time just a few years ago, but the EU manufacturing base absolutely hollowed out of Europe, and most of the headquarters as well as the manufacturing moved over to either the United States or China.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was trying to figure out. Hold on. Okay, good. Sorry, I wanted to double check that I did have the next one.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
But now let's go to more local news. Viva Fry says, quote, they seem... Oh, yeah, that's what I was waiting for. Thank you so much, Lyle Norman, for the 5 gifted memberships as well. Now everybody's a member, apparently. And if you hadn't noticed, we do kind of read member chats first. So now you'll all get your messages read first. Lyle Norman says, my turn to get the show more members. Thank you so much. And thank you also for being a member for 1 month now, Lyle Norman. That's been a while, so Thank you so much. And for the gifted memberships.
Because we just started memberships about a month ago.
Yeah,
and we don't
literally.
keep anything behind a paywall right now because we're talking about Alberta independence and information needs to get out there.
Exactly.
But why don't
and
we read
again, Michael Drader, thank you so much for the 5 memberships as well. The 5 gifted memberships. Very generous, everybody. Javon Jen got one. Tom Duke got one from Lyle Norman. Hurt Chain, Highland Agus, and Pale Pinkish Humanoid. I like that username. And also Honda, Jace Heldens, Yadira Rivera, Chris Calgary, and Free Alberta from Commies. Please thank Michael Drader as well for the memberships. And thank you so much again to everybody.
Absolutely. And before we move on to the next article, I just want to stress this right now. The EU countries are signing away their sovereignty to this EU pact. They're going to be absolutely flooded with migrants now. They've been preparing with these super centers that are going to have massive amounts of influx of illegal migrants. They're going to replace the voting blocks right now. We're seeing the uprise and the pushback from the citizens. The EU's counter move to this, and they had been planning out for a long time, is taking the sovereignty away from individual countries so they control the new voter base that's going to come in there. And it's not going to surprise me if Carney signs onto that EU immigration pact at some point. Alberta independence is really going to start becoming about mass migration if people can look far enough into the future what Carney actually wants to do here. Now's the time. Okay, let's go into the next story here.
Viva Fry says, quote, number of shootings. They seem to be conveniently omitting that one of those shootings was of a synagogue, almost like they want to downplay the, I'm going to just say terrorism problem they have imported into the country.
Yeah, and we said we were going to talk about this yesterday. We did. I expected a little bit more information to come out today. Not much did, so we'll talk about it now.
The investigation that led to the search warrant where Police Constable Mark Pinizzotto was tragically killed concerned a number of shootings, including a shooting at the United States Consulate on University Avenue. There were several search warrants executed this morning across the Toronto area. It is important to note that there is one outstanding suspect. He is identified as Zara Jabi, 19 years of age. And
Chief, with the outstanding person that's still at large, is there any consideration or threat of violence in the community? He's involved.
I would consider that person to be armed and dangerous. I'd ask anybody who sees him to call 911 immediately and let us come and deal with the matter. It will be available in short order through our corporate communications.
Oh, okay, good. I hadn't watched the very end of that clip, and I was wondering if they were going to put out a photo, because in the past, they said these suspects were armed and dangerous, and they refused to put out a photo because they thought there would be backlash in the community. At least they're releasing the names now. They've covered it up so many times. I think they're learning there's even more of a backlash if they hide the identity of these suspects.
But also our condolences to the constable's family and to those that worked with him. But again, sorry. Lyle Norman, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says you guys deserve it and keep up the great work. And thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that tunes in, and also to everybody that has and continues to be an engaged citizen, because that is what is most important as we head into, again, both the campaign season, which we're already in for Alberta independence, but also October 19th specifically.
Yeah, I feel like we've been a little bit off the last couple of weeks. I feel like we're coming back into it now. So hopefully we get our shit together next week. I've been working a lot behind the scenes on a few things, and then I come into the show and I just don't feel like I've been on point the last few episodes.
I've been trying to keep it afloat for both of us, but thank you so much. Actually, let's go to comments now. I was going to say something about the clip, but might as well just go to comments first. Where are we? Jesse GP, hello, says, hiya folks, playing 2 times again. I've still been trying to get a hold of the Western Standard, but they are busy, I guess. Thank you so much also. And
just keep trying to get a hold of them whenever you do. We really do appreciate that. I'm building the sets, but we're also trying to get a new formatting for the show, whether if we do a day show, night show, or however we're going to do it. One of the formats is going to be bringing in articles. So it would be great to bring in articles from the Western Standard, I think. They are the best publication within Alberta, by the way.
Rage Against Machine says a new world order of government total control, or that what they think is going to be total control, because again, the rest of the American continent, except for Mexico and Brazil we might see turning soon, and Mexico is also in an interesting position, and people are fully fed up with what's going on with our government already. So again, it's going to be Canada at the top and then Europe on the side that just won't be kind of aligned.
We need to talk about this because he directly says New World Order. We're aligning with Europe. We're aligning our intelligence, our space programs, this. But he leaves a few things out, and it's the three big things that he's leaving out that are going to have the biggest impact. I think it's going to be the federalization of natural resources and sharing profits with globalists within the EU, number one, signing over their sovereignty when it comes to immigration, and they're going to start importing legal immigrants from the EU eventually. I believe that's within Carney's plan. And there was one other thing I was going to mention. Obviously, the third one, he comes from the banking sector. I believe when their digital currency comes out in the EU, on the surface, Canada will have their own digital currency. But I was kind of researching this. It's going to feed into the EU banking system. And this is how they think they're going to emerge the EU as another world power. It's not going to happen at this point. It's not about digital currency and how much money you can print. It's about what you can actually manufacture and what kind of natural resources you do have. Now, Canada does have a lot of resources, but
and again, that's why they want to be able to fully control them at the federal level and not let each province be productive on its own, which is why it's so important for Alberta to gain its independence now, especially now when we're seeing where the plans are headed.
Yeah.
Silverfeet says, yay, the chat readout will now be back in sequence. Well, yeah, because everybody now has memberships. Michael Drader says 97% of your viewers have memberships now. And thank you so much to Lal Norman, Michael Drader, and Stephen Jensen for the memberships. But also, if you want to be able to receive memberships, I think you have to accept. You have to tell YouTube you do want to be able to receive memberships. So just press yes. I think it pops up on the chat when you're reading it, because some people don't know how to do it. Pick and Pan says, it is my belief that Carney is purposefully bringing Canada to the brink, then tell Canadians that the EU is willing to save us, but in reality, Canada's resources will be used to prop up a failing EU.
Yeah, and
both are failing.
That is exactly right. The EU is failing. Canada's natural resources are going to prop them up. It was originally supposed to be Russia's natural resources, $79 trillion worth, but that conflict is not going so well. They thought they were going to get the U.S. to fight it for them. Trump's not going to do it. I mean, if they get a Gavin Newsom in there, maybe. But their second option is Canada over there, who I believe is going to federalize natural resources and just prop up the EU, and they're going to both fail together.
Pick and Pan also says, think what this would do for Mr. Carney's ego.
Oh,
it's already big enough.
Carney will
just his ego, not anything else.
Carney will be running the World Economic Forum, and he will be the primary globalist if he connects Canada's and federalizes Canada's natural resources and hands them over to the European Union.
Justin GB says, caught up to 1x now. Thank you for catching up. And people making it rain memberships. Lol. Yes. Thank you so much to everybody that did make it rain memberships.
If you don't think Trump is looking at this as a threat, JD Vance is looking at this as a threat. They definitely are. They're going to be looking at Canada on their border as a massive threat right now. I'm not going to be surprised once Trump cancels the USMCA. I originally thought he was going to go year to year, but the way Carney is playing things here.
Pete says, effing groovin', funkin' groovin'. I can't say it like that. Glenn Gunn says, now we're all Martians because everybody's green. The whole chat is green. So thank you so much to everybody. And Michael Drader says, just trying to get Troglodyte a membership. Again, Troglodyte, if you want to receive memberships, you might not have it like habilitated. So just press yes. You want to receive memberships. Glenn Gunn says, you guys are the bomb. Yes, you are. I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube, but it's okay, YouTube. Don't get mad at me.
Let's go into Stay Free Alberta, and then at the end of the Stay Free Alberta section, we'll play Stephen Jensen's song. It's Friday. We'll play it a little bit more relaxed today.
Yes. Sorry, I was trying to figure out. Okay, hold on. Where am I? There we go. Where are we going? Alberta Stay Free?
Yeah, Alberta Stay Free.
Oh, hold on. There was one comment I wanted to address. Maybe let me see if I can catch up to it, or if I can find it. Because someone said, I think it was Justin GP, it said that they need to have a vote about our breaking news segment thing. Yeah. We will change it. Don't worry about it. That is kind of what we're working on behind the scenes. Well, one of the things we're working on
a lot of things. Building a proper set so it looks good right off the bat is very hard. They're both looking really good right now. But that's kind of delaying the new show chapters and sections and things like that. But everything's kind of moving for us right now.
Yes. But now let's go to Alberta Stay Free. Yes, the breaking news segment will be changed. Don't worry.
Sweet home Alberta, where the roots run deep and the money trees grow.
starting with important news. Tommy Temper says, quote, regarding Danielle Smith interview by Derek, the Unacceptable Fringe on Alberta independence separation. And apparently Danielle has got a hot seat interview incoming with, Derek from the Unacceptable Fringe.
And I don't know when the interview is going to be published. So I'm just checking in again to see if it is going to be today.
Okay, I'll start playing this.
Actually, I'm surprised that you're doing the interview with Danielle. After all the things that you said about her, I thought maybe she might cancel on you.
Doesn't mind the criticism. And you know what? They're a little strict that, hey, keep all the questions to referendum style stuff, but we're still going to hammer in some tough ones, I think. Fair and tough ones. So I'll say fair.
Yeah, I know. I heard you say that she doesn't want you talking about the gun buyback thing, whatever.
No, she told me that they're making an announcement on that shortly, so she doesn't want me addressing it. Well, her press secretary said they don't want me addressing it, so I just said, fair enough, I'll play ball. If it means whether she comes on or not, well, we'll excuse one question for the rest.
Yeah, so I know that you're not one to be giving her some softball questions, so we want to see the hardball questions tomorrow.
You know, I intend to ask her about the referendum when she plans to call the second one if we succeed in October. I want to ask her a lot of questions about the trust that Albertans should have in her. Mark Carney was seen in Toronto the other day mocking her, saying she's a terrible negotiator. I want to ask her how she feels about that, since she's praising him and says that the MOU is doing great things. So I think she'll be in the hot seat for a little bit tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I got one question.
Now, I hope he structures these questions good, and I'm glad he's doing the interview.
Yes,
I've been saying
so
for
much,
a while, we need somebody to ask very specific questions. I was very vocal about a lot of the questions I wanted to ask. I know Mike was watching the show on those 2 episodes, so hopefully those got to the Fringe. And he said one of them, which is, when are you going to call the binding referendum? But there needs to be very specific follow-up questions, and these questions have to go in a very specific order. So he has to ask, when are you going to call the binding referendum? And then she's going to say this or that. And then he needs to ask, well, why didn't you call the binding referendum in the first place? She's probably going to say it would have been blocked by the courts without a consultation. And he said, well, if you're going to call a binding referendum after the non-binding, when are you going to actually do the consultation so it isn't blocked? So there's a series of questions that need to be asked here so we can be really clear on the timeline. This is actually an opportunity for us to dramatically shift that timeline from a 3-year plus timeline, which Danielle Smith and Mark Carney are now pitching, down to a 6 to 12 month. And that is my goal. After October 19th, it should not be longer than 6 to 12 months to get that binding referendum. And it needs to come with a consultation so it isn't blocked. Otherwise, she's going to call the binding referendum, know it's going to get blocked because there was no consultation, say, oh, well, I can't do it. We have to wait another 2 years for another court case. So yeah.
But thank you so much to Stephen Jensen for the $2 super chat, but also for saying publishing on Saturday might have teaser tonight. So thank you for letting us know. Tomorrow, Saturday.
For what?
I'm guessing for the interview.
Oh, for the interview. Okay.
Danielle Smith's interview.
Yeah.
Says
I thought he was talking about his song. It's like, oh, maybe we're not supposed to play it.
No.
Okay.
Publishing on Saturday might have a teaser tonight. I'm guessing you mean the Derek
that's definitely the
interview. And yeah, Sanjali says we won't see the video till tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he did it. I'm glad she was willing to do the interview as well, as much as I don't like her and I don't think she's on our side. We do need some things clarified right now. And this is going to get really, if he asks the right questions in the right order, we're going to have a firm idea of what the timeline's going to look like.
Mm-hmm. And again, I will say, of course, she's a politician, she's the premier. The questions will have to be, trickled down through and revised and looked at and etc. But I do hope he does do some of the follow-ups at least. And he said he wanted to do some hardball questions
I don't think he's going to have to submit all the questions before, because some other people that interviewed Danielle Smith that was on the independent side says she doesn't ask for questions. Once in a while, she'll ask not to ask a certain thing because,
like he said there.
Yeah, like he said there, because she has news coming about that already. But from what I've heard, she's talked to the independent side and not asked for questions in the past.
Good. But now let's go to Chris Scott from the Whistle Stop Cafe saying, quote, "We are blessed to live in a time when self-determination can be achieved through conversation, debate, and ballots instead of bullets. Since 1990, most new nations have emerged through, and there have been some, people seem to forget that, have emerged through peaceful political process. Honor that gift, learn, engage, participate, and vote."
Absolutely. And we see what's going on in the EU right now. All their legal pathways have been taken away, and today they're just spitting in their face. They're saying no more immigration. We were never consulted about this. We never had a vote about this. The EU just pushed this upon our government, and now they're taking over immigration completely. So we lost our sovereignty when it comes to immigration. immigration. Their only recourse now is kind of what we're seeing in the streets. They have no way to vote their way out of this because they have multiple levels of government literally shoving immigration down their throat. When it comes to Alberta independence, we're trying to take every single legal pathway that is presented to us.
Since 1995, I think there's, fact check me here, please, but I think it's something like 38 new nations have formed. 38. This is not a new thing. Of those 38, not all of them was peaceful. Not all of them required a sacrifice of your time and your willingness to learn. Some of those nations, some of those people being able to self-determine meant that their sons and daughters had to go and die. And we don't have to do that. That's why I believe that this conversation is so critically important. And we start getting in rooms and hashing this out. Since 1995,
but I will say, actually getting in rooms, having those debates and conversations and trying to engage with the other side and showing that the debate and the conversation is important. And also that if they don't want to debate and discuss it, we might actually be taking people from them that are still on the fence.
And I know I say this a lot, but we have a critical mass of individuals living in Alberta right now where we can vote for independence. Not a lot of provinces have that. And although the immigration is bad in Canada, it's nowhere near where the EU is. But we see Mark Carney trying to align with the EU now. And if he says, well, if we want all of these things, they're saying we have to sign on to this immigration pact. That's exactly what he wants. Then he can sign Canada's sovereignty away when it comes to immigration. It's no longer his fault. And then he can absolutely flood Canada and Alberta with mass immigration, which will make it extremely hard, if not impossible, for us to ever get independence. That's why we need to move now, and we have to shorten this timeline down. That's why I'm excited to hear Danielle Smith talk to the Fringe. Yeah. Hopefully in the next couple of days.
But also I continue to say, stop being so Canadian about it. And that doesn't mean going to the extreme side. And as Chris Scott was saying there, we do have the legal pathways and the legal means to do it and to be able to do it through voting. But also we can't continue to be as, I don't know if it's complacent or just not wanting to really engage with certain topics, certain things, because again, some of those topics, specifically immigration, is one of the top of mind things that most Albertans, if not most Canadians, currently have. We just think that it's still a taboo topic, but stop being so Canadian about it and start talking about what the consequences have been, because we're already seeing it in Europe.
Yeah, and one of the big problems here is when I say we need to really step up to the plate here, we're so concerned about October 19th. A lot of people aren't listening to what Mark Carney and Danielle Smith are constantly saying in the new hurdles they're putting in the way. They're lengthening out the timeline. We're at 2.5 to 3 years, according to them. That's why this interview with the Fringe, if he can put things in a certain order and get certain answers out of Danielle Smith, we can hold her to that and really shorten this timeline today. We cannot allow them to lengthen out this timeline for a binding referendum any longer. We can't accept, the first court case has to clear before we get our binding referendum.
Mm-hmm. And thank you so much to Stephen Jensen for the $5 super chat, but also for saying any government should not be weighing in on a public debate and using taxpayer money to advocate on one side. This might be her downfall. And actually painting it like that and painting it in that way, again, it is coming. She was supposed to be the neutral arbiter and the one saying, oh, I'm going to uphold democracy and not and just have the people ask the question because on both sides they want it answered. That was her out. That was her way of doing it. But now that she's put on the Captain Canada hat and said, oh, I'm going to campaign on Alberta to stay, well, then that, as a current leader of Alberta, puts her in an interesting position, as Stephen Jensen is putting it there. And I think that should be highlighted. And one of the ways we can stop being so Canadian.
Absolutely.
And but thank you so much, Stephen Jensen. Yesterday, I forgot to take one chat off, and then we had it for the whole while we were talking about something else. But now let's go to Nadine Wellwood saying, quote, protect our borders. Some in government may be destroying sovereignty. I would say definitely are now.
And I want to say one more thing. I know I brought this thing up with immigration and Mark Carney may be signing on to the EU Migration Pact, which would be absolutely ridiculous. But the goal is not to flood these migrants into the United States or into Canada. It's actually to get them into the United States. The original plan was to flood them through Mexico. They sent up an entire NGO infrastructure in Central and South America where water, food, clothes, everything was distributed at different checkpoints to get millions of people into the United States. That's been completely shut down. But one of the largest, primarily unprotected borders in the world is the Canadian-US border. And if they can get Mark Carney to sign on to the EU Migration Pact, they can flood flood hundreds of millions of immigrants into Canada and get them to illegally cross into the United States, which is going to be very hard to stop them because the border is much, much larger than the Mexican border.
And again, we continue to talk about and hear about, oh, the passport, you're going to lose your passport. Your Canadian passport is so important. Number one, no, you don't need, I'm making a whole video about this, but no, you don't need it to get social services or your CPP, which is what they're trying to say. Sorry, I started talking too fast. But another thing is that the Canadian passport is losing prestige already and may continue to lose prestige, specifically because of the new pacts and the new pathways to immigration, especially if Carney does fully align with Europe and maybe allow people from Europe to now also cross border into Canada, like they kind of have already set up within Europe, and which is one of the issues and one of the downfalls of what we're seeing with this mass immigration program. And again, having a Canadian passport might not be as convenient as it once was. It might be looked down upon, and maybe even access to the US, which is what I think most people think about when they think about having a Canadian passport, might also be hindered because of the US saying, well, you're not checking, you're not vetting any of the people you're actually giving PR and passports to. So we're going to have to, switch up the way we have cross-border communication between us. Speaking of protect our borders.
We've got the Russians and the Chinese active in the Canadian Arctic. There's a lot going on in this country. We've got more Chinese diplomats per capita in Canada than in any other country in the world. We've got a lot going on. We need to protect our borders. This country's not even doing that. Or at least our government isn't. So it's not only that we're not doing enough to protect our own individual sovereignty, it's that we have people in government who are not doing their job to protect that sovereignty and actually, in some cases, seem to be trying to actively destroy it. We've got
because they benefit from that.
Well, and I believe that is Mark Carney, and I believe he's going to sign on to this immigration with the EU, and that signs away Canada's sovereignty and allows him to shuck off responsibility and say, it's not me. We wanted these other benefits. We wanted the EU space program, which they don't even have a space program to speak of. They piggyback off of Elon Musk, just like every other country.
Yes. And with Mark Carney's little red rocket.
And I'm sorry to do it to you. I know I didn't grab it. I meant to grab Steven Jensen's song if we can play it now.
Okay.
Do you know how to get into it?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Talk for now while I look for it.
And I've been talking a lot about immigration, and I know I brought it up a few minutes ago, but I really think one of the big Achilles heels that he's not talking about is aligning the Canadian banking system with the EU banking system when they go to a digital currency. It's going to be very interesting what happens. And you have to be thinking behind the scenes. Carney has probably been working extremely close with the EU to interlink the digital currencies, which is not going to be a good thing. This is one of the other big reasons Alberta needs its independence before this digital currency gets thrust upon us.
The one that's called My Canada?
Yeah.
Okay, I found it. Hold on. I think it started playing as you were talking. I apologize for that, but YouTube is annoying sometimes.
This was it. This was absolute. I was shocked because he sent the email and he said, "Oh, I made a song," and then I wasn't expecting much, and then he played this, and it was fantastic.
And again, Alberta Freedom First, go subscribe and prop up the song as well.
I remember the vows we made on the wide open plain, when the mountains stood witness and the wheat bent in rain. I brought you my riches, the black gold that flowed, my hands calloused and bleeding to lighten your load. You promised fair treatment, a partnership true, but the years turned to silence, and the silence too. Oh, Canada, my Canada, how did love turn so cold? I gave you my bounty, you took more than you told. You broke every promise promise. You silenced my voice. Now my very heart will weep as I make this hard choice. Farewell, my Canada. I loved you once true, but the marriage is broken. I must say goodbye to you. You taxed all my labor and sent it to waste. While I struggled in downturns, you gave not the least. You strangled my pipelines with rules from afar, choked the light from my fields under carbon and scar. My oil was your lifeline, yet you cursed what I am, treating my success like some original sin. Oh, yeah.
And go finish watching it, because people are saying they can't hear it because of the sound stabilization. But again, go.
Yeah, sorry, we have sound cancellation on, and it's hard to turn off. But
Farewell, my Canada, Alberta Freedom First. I was waiting for you to stop it, but then I just had to do it myself.
Absolutely fantastic song. I highly recommend going to check it out. It's the best song made for Alberta independence so far.
Yes.
So,
and thank you so much to Stephen Jensen for sharing it with us as well.
Yeah.
And I think he made another one. So go check him out again. Alberta Freedom First. Go subscribe as well, please, to Stephen Jensen. And where were we? Oh, we're at the end. We're going to
go into some comments, and then we're going to go into Alberta politics.
Yes. Hold on. Where are we? Because they're all talking about, Sanjali says road rally to Tabor in support of Corey Morgan's signs. We are driving from all over Alberta to Smitty's in Tabor. Let's go. Tabor, let's go. And Sanjali also says, I forgot to say it's on Sunday, June 28th. So Sunday, June 28th, to support Corey Morgan and his signs in Tabor to Smitty in Tabor.
Yeah, that needs to be the battleground right now is Tabor, and we need to win Tabor and move out from there and declare victory in town after town after town. Mm-hmm. We should be focusing on one town at a time.
Pig and Pan says, at what point does our unchecked third world immigration become a national security threat to the United States? Already, I would say.
It is, especially with the direction that Carney is moving. When he's getting so close to the EU, he won't talk about the banking and he won't talk about the immigration, but those are the two main vectors that he's going to want to join Canada with the EU with. And that immigration, especially under Trump and a Republican administration, they completely shut down the Mexico border. Mm-hmm. Are they going to have to do the same up north here? It used to be the largest unprotected border in the world. There's a little bit more protection, but for the most part, it's completely unguarded. I used to work along the border.
Sanjali says, Cardin's right, had an interview with Danielle today, but it just pissed me off. We'll check it out. Did you watch that one? No.
No, I didn't watch it. We were, again, at IKEA all day, but I think the Unacceptable French is going to ask some good questions, so I'm definitely going to sit through that entire thing.
Good Trader says, we know the water balloon launcher buyback program goes away with the Biden referendum. That's a non-moot point. True as well.
Sorry, repeat that one more time.
We know the water balloon launcher buyback program, the gun buyback program, goes away with the binding referendum. That's a non-moot point.
Yeah, there's so many reasons that we need to get out of Canada, and it's a shame. A lot of these, if you're very politically engaged, you know what's coming for Canada with mass immigration, connecting it to the EU, the federalization of natural resources, digital currency, digital ID, connecting the banking system of Canada to a failing confederation of countries like the European Union. This is a guaranteed recipe for disaster if we stick in Canada. We need to go, and we need to go now. It's hard to explain all this stuff to the non-politically engaged because they are like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're this, you're that. Well, no, all the signs are there. The mechanisms have already been built.
They keep saying it themselves.
Yeah, the new world order.
Yeah. Stephen Jensen, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, and says another coming out late tonight too, an Independence Alberta love song.
Oh, fantastic. I really like this one specifically. I'm sorry we had the noise cancellation. Yes. People couldn't hear it properly. But in the beginning, it starts off like somber or softly, and then it just kicks in. And I absolutely, it really hit me because I like Braveheart, and it kind of reminded me of Braveheart a little bit.
Stephen Jensen says Albertans need to do what Ireland is doing. And again,
and
stop being so Canadian. Stop being so Irish.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people in the world right now are sympathizing with the Irish, and they're starting to come out and they're saying, no more. But you also have to realize why this is happening in Ireland. It's not just the guy that lost his head, and it's not just the grape gangs, but it also has to do with what happened. It also has to do with what happened today, and that's their sovereignty as a nation has been signed away to the EU for immigration. And we're going to get into it when we get into Alberta and the world. It's probably the most important story. It's these super facilities they have been building over the last half decade, and they're ready to release massive amounts of migrants into Ireland and the rest of the EU in a legal mechanism, so it's almost impossible to get rid of them now.
And again, without asking them. And again, where is the consultation from Mark Carney to the rest of the people to join and make a new world order with Europe? That one doesn't come.
Well, the shocking thing is they may have never asked them, and then they never put it to a vote, but the people have spoken. They do not want it, but the government refuses to listen. A matter of fact, the multiple layers of government, whether it's your own government, whether it's the EU governance, or whether it's the UN, you have all these layers of governments, and they're shoving mass immigration down the people's throats, driving in a new voter bloc.
Glenn says that's an interesting point, Ned, about the passports. Again, I do, and I have a video coming out kind of saying very similar things, but it is one thing that they're using, aside from the heritage and the very few other points they try to make to get Albertans to stay and to say, oh, it's not convenient for you to leave, to become independent. Yes, it is.
I'm more of a hardliner, and I'm saying I don't want a Canadian passport, and we should not want a Canadian passport. It will be a vector of attack for the Canadian government after in a lot of different ways. If they have mass immigration coming into Canada, if they connect it with the EU, and then let's say Alberta gets its independence, and then Alberta in negotiations says, well, we want to keep our Canadian passport, and Canada says, well, anybody from Canada will automatically get citizenship into Alberta. Yep. That's the trade-off. All those mass immigrants coming into Canada, they're going to flood into Alberta.
Glenn Gunn says Quebec will never go for the EU, and also says, want to watch, Stephen. Yes. And Stephen says sound is fading in and out of the song. Does not do that in real life on the channel. So go watch it on Stephen Jensen's channel, Alberta. Oh, I forgot the name. I'll bring it up in a second. Pick and Pan says, sadly, I believe things will have to get worse before there is real pushback on immigration. And at the same time, how much worse can we expect it to get? I mean, it can get a lot worse.
No, it's going to get a lot worse. Canada doesn't have a mass immigration problem right now when you compare it to the European Union. But if he connects the European immigration program with Canada and signs away their sovereignty, Canada is going to learn what it means to why people like us have been complaining so long about the dangers of mass immigration. It's going to become a reality, and you're going to see your population become completely replaced, and there will be no more independence movements.
True. Michael Trader, I'm guessing talking about the Tabor and the going to Tabor to protest for Corey Morgan's sign says corn is corn, it enters, away it exits.
Let's go into Alberta politics if we can.
Okay, hold on. I thought there was another one, but no. Yes, Alberta politics. Sorry, I couldn't find my button.
He doesn't discuss federal politics. He only concerns himself with Alberta's independence.
Let's start with, speaking of, funnily enough, Corey Morgan says, wasn't there an MOU? Shannon Stubbs says, quote, breaking. Liberals vote against the Conservative motion to declare Carney's promised Pacific Pipeline in Canada's national interest and then shuts down debate on it. After 11 years of trying to kill Canada's energy sector, the Liberals now claim it is.
Yeah, and what I see happening here is I really do think Mark Carney is going to be federalizing Canada's natural resources, but what he wants to do is have the Conservatives just keep asking for it. We need a pipeline. We need our natural resources. We need it. And then he's going to say, okay, here you go.
But it's mine.
But it's mine. It's going to be, there's going to be so many strings that attach it to federal payouts and things like that. It's not going to be good for the people of each individual province.
Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Shannon Stubbs, the Conservative Official Opposition, Shadow Minister for Energy and Natural Resources and the MP for Lakeland in Alberta. And this is
Jonathan Rowe, MP for Terranova the Peninsulas from Newfoundland and Labrador.
Right on. We just came out of the Natural Resources Committee where I put forward a motion that I expected all members of the committee to support, didn't you, Jonathan?
I don't know why they wouldn't.
I don't know why they wouldn't, because all it was to get this committee to report to the House of Commons exactly what Prime Minister Mark Carney has promised Canadians for more than a year, which is to say that a pipeline to the Pacific is in the national interest for the good of all Canadians.
I mean, it is. I mean, 60% of Atlantic Canadians, which is the farthest away from BC, want this. It would bring in tax revenue for Canada. It creates energy security.
And they just seem phony. I mean, I like what some of the stuff they're saying, but man, their delivery is not good. They just need to be authentic and normal.
The career politicians don't know how to do that.
Oh.
Gets us off the American influence that we're looking for. It brings east to west. I mean, these are so many opportunities, and that's just some of the jobs it would create for people right across this country. But yet, they didn't seem to bite and vote for this.
Yeah, that's right. They defeated that motion. They don't want to report to the House of Commons, and because they don't want to be on record agreeing that the Pacific Pipeline that this Prime Minister promised all Canadians is in the national interest. Well, Conservatives have asked this question before of ministers in the House of Commons. I asked.
Okay, and you can leave it there. And what Carney wants to do is get all Conservatives in Canada begging for natural resources, and he's going to throw at them with a ton of strings, just like he did with Danielle Smith and the MOU. It's retroactive on a lot of other pipelines that are already in the ground. We're now paying taxes retroactively before there's even a shovel in the ground. And because so much is connected to the federal government and with the carbon taxes and everything else, this is step one of federalization.
And unfortunately, again, we continue to see Conservatives try to do something, but again, for the next at least 3 years, there's not much to be done. And I do really like Andrew Lawton.
Oh, I do like Andrew Lawton a lot, actually. He's probably my favorite politician within Canada.
Yeah, because he's not a career politician. He came up being an independent journalist and showing people that he does care about the truth. Andrew Lawton says, quote, "I just moved a motion in the House that will stop Bill C-9 once and for all. The Liberals have one final opportunity." Shouldn't have to be an opportunity. It should have to be something they do, but they don't have to.
Yeah, and
to do the right thing.
It's a shame that nothing's going to happen here. Just like when Polyoff complains and every Conservative complains, and the last two Conservatives we just showed about the pipeline, when they complain, nothing can happen because they have no power. Carney has that majority government now. It's a damn shame, but I do appreciate him doing the best that he can do with the position that he is in.
And again, Bill C-9 is the Combating Hate Act or Online Hate Act, whatever. Essentially, they want to censor you, saying hate speech.
I think many Liberals probably wanted Bill C-9 to skate through. I think several Liberals are probably quite unhappy that it has come back to the House. And once again, they have to address this. But they have the opportunity to do the right thing. And I'm actually about to introduce an amendment to this bill. And this is actually an olive branch to my Liberal colleagues. My amendment will give the Liberals, and will give all people in this House, one final opportunity to do the right thing, to end the division, to end the assaults on liberty, to end the attacks on people who just want to live their lives free of government intrusion and censorship. This amendment will end this charade once and for all. I move, seconded by my colleague, the member for Bruce Grey Owen Sound, that the motion be amended by deleting all the words after the word "that" and substituting the following: "The order for the consideration of the amendment made by the Senate to Bill C-9, an act to amend the criminal code, be discharged and the bill withdrawn." Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And that would be absolutely fantastic if that was the case. They kicked it back, but what you have to realize is they're distracting you with Bill C-9, kicking it back and forth, where they're building multiple other mechanisms and bills that work with C-9 that are going to completely take away free speech and all privacy online. And you figure, like, why are they going so hard at censorship? It's because there's going to be a push for mass immigration. That number of 100 million population in Canada, Mark Carney's not joking about that. Once he aligns with the EU, they can absolutely flood it, but they want to be able to track people so they can indoctrinate people with mass media and certain kinds of advertisement. They're going to know everything about everybody.
Mm-hmm. And also, National Post says, quote, "Canada allows minors into, I'm going to have to say, substance consumption sites, but would ban access to social media. Canadian 15-year-olds could soon face a regime disallowing Facebook use while allowing facing no barriers to injecting substances at a government-run facility," because that's the state that Canada is in. And again, they're not doing it for the teenagers. They don't care about the teenagers. They don't care about their social media use. They care about being able to create essentially database of anybody who is online and who wants to be online, where you have to register to give them your age to show that you're not 15 and you're 15 or older. But that actually allows them to start creating the mechanisms for, number one, further control, number two, see where you're going in conjunction with Bill, not just D9.
You have to simplify it down here. They're trying to bring in this bill saying, if you want to go on social media as a minor, you're going to need to identify your age. The only way to do that, and we've seen it in country after country, is, we need a digital ID for the entire population. And that's the pitch they're currently doing. That's digital ID, and digital ID is what everything else is based upon, whether it's the tracking, whether it's the surveillance, whether it's digital currency, whether it's a social credit score. Without the digital ID, none of those other things are possible. And that's how they're going to bring it in here. And this is how they brought it in within the European Union and a lot of other countries.
Since we have a troll, so I'm just going to get rid of him. Sorry, bye. Because it was annoying everybody.
Yeah.
But now let's go into your comments and then into Alberta Personalities. Yeah. Where were we? Sorry, I'm trying to get past the troll stuff. Rage Against Machine says, I slow build up with a climactic ending on Steven Jensen's song. And again, please go check it out. Glenn Gunn says, great movie, Braveheart. And again, might give us some ideas as well. Michael Drader says, history is written by those that hang heroes. And hold on. Justin Chappie says, those folks calling for pipelines are trying to keep Alberta in Confederation. They're scrambling, and exactly. And again, we know which way the Conservatives are aligning right now, and the Conservative Party in general at the federal level, but also apparently in other levels as well, in other provinces too, and within Alberta are aligning in what their ultimate goal finally is, because again, they are career politicians, and it is much more convenient for them, for Alberta, to stay within Canada. So yeah, they might, and again, they think it's just about economics. They think it's just about pipelines, and it's not. It's about culture. It's about the mass migration that they're going to start bringing in, and it's about the way Albertans have been wanting to continue to preserve their culture, their history, etc., away from what Canada is heading towards.
Absolutely.
And that's an important point to continue to bring up. Justin JP says, yep, Andrew should move to Alberta. Andrew Lawton. And yes, Glenn Gunn says, Nat and Guy, you have a troll. Got rid of it. Michael Dredger says, lots of members to choose from now, LOL. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Glenn Gunn says we need moderators. We'll look into it. I don't understand how it works fully, the moderation thing, but for now, I'm the moderator.
Yeah, and we got a lot of new things coming to the channel over the next few months, so...
And hold on, because we did have some other ones that I had not been able to read. Satius Maximus, hello, thank you for being here. It says, make corn great again. And Tabor. Satius also says, liberals are megalomaniacs. They won't stop. They can't stop. And they won't stop.
Well, and they're trying to restructure globalism in the new world order. And the way they're realizing they have to do it is through natural resources and Canada's natural resources. And whether they want to build up their manufacturing or their energy, they're going to have to go through Canada to do it. And that's why Carney wants to align the two countries. They realize Russia was not the easy target they thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. They thought they were going to walk in there and then chop it up into individual provinces or states and just hand that around to the globalists. They had maps mapped out of Russia on how they were going to divide it up into different regions and where those regions were going to belong, who they were going to belong to.
Mm-hmm. Harmony, hello, Harmony.
Now it looks like Canada is going to be carved up.
Hello, Harmony says, I experienced manager gatekeeper in academia. In fact, most were, otherwise they wouldn't stay alive or lose their jobs. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And again, academia was one of the first to be captured because they knew that if they could change academia, then they could change everything else, because everything stems from the universities outwardly, especially if you can indoctrinate enough people that will go spread your message out into the world.
Well, in Canada,
and fight for it.
Canada is very insidious because even how teachers get certified to actually do the job outside of university now, whether it's high school or elementary school or even kindergarten, they're ideologically indoctrinated through this process. So all of your teachers and all of academia from kindergarten all the way up to university are completely captured, and they're teaching ideology. This is not just in Canada. This happens a lot in Mexico now as well.
Yes, and it's again, we're 10 years behind here, which is, I mean, a blessing in disguise, I guess, for me, because I'm coming in and saying, hey, all of this, look at Canada. I just lived through, went through it. I just fought against it for the past also 5-7 years, and now it's starting to happen here in Mexico. Wake up, people. It's kind of waking up, but not fast enough.
What we're seeing happen here, and this is already happened in Canada, you're seeing traditional liberals getting pushed out of academia so they can get really ideologically far left individuals kind of taking over the heads of the academic departments.
P. Griswold, hello, says Andrew is based AF. Yeah. Southeast Maximus says liberals.
And it's a shame. I mean, I like having him as a politician, but man, he can't make content anymore. So Andrew Lawson.
You said Calvin for some reason, didn't you?
No.
Okay. Southeast Maximus says, because I keep reading Calvin because it's the troll. Southeast Maximus says liberals have to be choking everything in Canada to impose dependence. They want government to control everything.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. And hold on. Thomas, hello, Thomas, says troll starts to show up means the channel is getting attention a lot. So yeah, I guess it's a blessing in disguise, but I'm just not gonna go along with it because again, we don't. I'm the moderator. I have the power. So goodbye. Okay, now let's go into Alberta personalities.
Yeah.
But they need to understand that Albertans are done. We're leaving, and there's no more conversation to be had. I know that's upsetting to people.
And let's start with from Rise of Alberta, but technically Stephen Crowder. Stephen Crowder just laid out what millions of Canadians still refuse to admit. Again, stop being so Canadian.
And Stephen Crowder is one of the big American content creators originally from Canada that's really shining a light on the issues in Alberta independence.
Yep, says Alberta has the resources, the people, the energy, and the economic strength to stand on its own. Question is not if Alberta can leave, it's why it keeps staying.
Well, him and Glenn Beck have to be the best two American content creators when it comes to Alberta independence.
Highlighting the issues.
Yeah.
Canada's blood has gone septic, and there is a lone exception, Alberta. And the message that I want to send to Alberta before I get into this is, Alberta, it's not the Canada that you think you know and love. The Canada, it's not there anymore, Albertans. And this is a genuine plea and a case that I want to make to people of Alberta, maybe some folks in Saskatchewan. Let's get past the trolling and the idea of being a 51st state. There's a way to make this work where you no longer have to be shackled to the communists of your country. This is an inflection point. It's a fork in the road. You have a choice to make. Canada's had a serious string of massive problems. They've had a housing crisis. They've had an immigration disaster. They've had stagnant economic growth. The other Canadian folks voted for more of the exact same thing. Albertans, take a sober look at yourself right now. You need to leave Canada. Canada is not what you thought it was. Canada is a Marxist hellhole. And by the way, Alberta, the rest of Canada despises you. If you choose to stay with Canada, you will wither on the vine and die.
Mm-hmm. And that's right. The rest of Canada absolutely despises Alberta. They want to talk about hugging Alberta, loving Alberta. They don't love Alberta. They haven't loved it for over 100 years. Right from the inception, they never put it to a vote of Albertans wanting to join. There's been an independence movement since 1905.
Exactly. Since the inception, it wasn't what Albertans wanted, but it was what the Laurentian elite and those that were the planners of Canada wanted. But again, you have the opportunity to cut yourself away from the cancer that is Canada.
Well,
cancer is Canada.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yes, but it's starting to metastasize again. Look at the cities. Look at Edmonton. Look at Calgary. They look exactly now almost the same as the Vancouvers and the Torontos and the places where there's clear societal rot and disease because of the metastasis of this cancer, and it's reaching out now also into the suburbs. Don't let that happen to Alberta.
Yeah.
And right now you have the opportunity to make that change. Soon, most people, if they see and they get frustrated enough, unfortunately, I don't like to say it, but will leave. And then you won't have that mass of people that can vote to become independent anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't encourage anyone to leave yet. Stay for the fight and stop being so Canadian. Vesper says, quote,
this was absolutely hilarious. And this has to be the liberal game plan. And I don't think it's shaping up like this in any way, shape, or form. I almost can't wait to the midterm election nights, especially if Trump wins or at least holds his ground.
Mm-hmm. Vesper says Tom Mulcair on CTV called the U.S. president a 4-year-old, irrational, crazy, and he needs pablum because he's a baby. Totally how you talk about the most powerful leader in the world, especially because you're probably doing something in your pants. Totally how you talk about the most sorry.
And we can just play the clip here.
I was trying to get to it.
Tom, lots to discuss. Breaking news this morning. Let's begin with your take, your interpretation of what is happening with this bridge opening days after the Prime Minister said, no drama here.
Well, yeah, and I think that that's the only possible position that Mark Carney can take when he's dealing with Donald Trump. I mean, other than offering to supply more pablum so they can give him more baby food so he stops bawling, and he doesn't have a clue, and Trump doesn't know anything about this. All of this will get settled in November when Trump gets thumped in the midterm elections. We all know it's a game, knowing that he will lose, but that's the life work of Donald Trump. Just 6 months left or so to go until those midterms, and then there's 2 years left, and then the guy is thankfully gone from the White House for good. He causes chaos, he causes uncertainty, but of course Trump doesn't understand long term, doesn't understand what's happened in the past, and he never thinks about what's going to happen in the future. It's always like a child. He's immediate. What do I get now, and what can I bargain for it? This is how Trump reasons, like a 4-year-old. And you're dealing with someone who is irrational, who doesn't understand what it is to deal long term.
If that's what he thinks, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. He cut off USAID. The normal ways they launder money to fight for the midterms are gone. A lot of the legislation has gone up to the Supreme Court, and it's now favoring Republicans. I'm not expecting Trump to have some massive landslide victory in the midterms, but I'm expecting him to hold his ground. It's not looking bad, and he knows it's coming up. It's 5-6 months away, and he's got to have some tricks up his sleeve, ending the Ukraine war and pulling out of Iran as well. If he does those two things, there's going to be a massive shift there.
But it's also very funny that he says that Trump does, and again, not to just throw flowers at Trump right now, but it's funny that he says then his number one point was, oh, Trump is irrational and he has no long-term thinking. He literally has planned and strategized the return of the Western power to the Western, especially with the U.S., but to the Western hemisphere, but specifically of the American continent, without Canada now, but by also helping and allowing a lot of other countries within Latin America and South America to turn towards the right and to ally with him, create the shield of the Americas. And if you read the national, I continue to talk about this still, if you read the national security strategy that came out in November of last year, you will see that this plan has been laid out for a very long time and that it goes very long into the future as well, creating those alliances, not just economic alliances, but also security alliances, and being able to essentially clean up Latin America to be able to use Latin America as well and create these workable spheres. Sorry, you started looking at me like I was crazy.
No, what's going to happen after the midterms is going to be the interesting thing, because then I think he's going to focus in on Canada and absolutely crush it, because it's becoming a threat with Mark Carney's plans to align with the EU. And I don't think he's going to do anything before the midterms, but after the midterms, I'm expecting US, that's going to be the time he's going to want to cancel Kuzma.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it takes to crush Canada, that one stroke of the pen.
But now let's go to Matthew Rowley saying, quote, what can you expect? It's Canada is a thing. Is this a thing we should hear every time something crazy happens?
We can just let him say it here. And I will say, I don't agree with his constitution in any way, shape, or form. We're not fighting this hard for independence to go back to the Westminster system. That being said, he puts out the best clips. He's extremely well spoken. And when he doesn't bring up his constitution, I tend to agree with almost everything he says.
I'm interested today to see the news. Just another drumbeat. And a comment that somebody made really hit me. Had to do with a person being released from prison who is a violent offender who is known to have danger of reoffending. And the comment was, well, what else can you expect? This is Canada. That's where we're at today. We're in a land, in a world, in a country where everything has been turned on its head, where you cannot expect justice, safety, security, where you cannot expect that the victim will be the one who is treated well and the abuser, the person who harms, the murderer, the rapist, will be the one who is punished and will see justice served. We see story after story of things like, oh, somebody did a serious crime, but because it might affect their immigration status, they had their sentence made less. We see cases where, well, because of someone's race or whatever other mitigating factors, some serious crime is to be treated as nothing. And on the other hand, we see people who were minding their own business, going about their day, living their own lives, and who are harmed, who are abused, who are attacked, who are even murdered. We see a world where we can expect to see people struggling and in pain, in the throes of addiction, and nothing is done about it. I was just in downtown Calgary the other day, and it has become a common sight to see people who are addicted to fentanyl, severely struggling with drug addiction, just wandering around, doing their thing. We had the unfortunate circumstance of seeing someone laying down and having to ask the question, is this person dead? And that's not abnormal. That's common now. That's what Canada is. What can you expect? It's just Canada. We have become a country where...
Okay, and you can leave it there. And I will say this, absolutely nailed it there. We're going to skip Alberta's Canada today and go to Alberta in the World. So the next 3 stories you can X out. Alberta in the World's crucially important today because we're going to talk about what's happening within the EU. And I wrote some secondary notes that say at the very bottom, after RUMBLE, yes. I'm going to get you to read that on on one of the stories.
Okay. But on what Matthew Riley was saying, I do want to say right now, specifically with the World Cup, and again, I think a lot of people, especially living in the downtown areas of any big city in Canada, be it Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton, and again, I was saying specifically in Alberta, it's insane that this is happening there as well.
Yeah, but they know how to clean it up because they've cleaned it up in Toronto and Vancouver almost overnight for the World Cup.
But again, initially we played, a week ago, someone talking about how the business sector and the tourism sector within Vancouver was saying, a lot of these tourists are coming here and saying that they didn't expect this from Canada, that it seems really like it's not a welcoming place to be, and all of these actual reviews of what they were seeing on the streets. Here in Mexico, it's not common to see someone like you would see and what Matthew Riley just mentioned, they're struggling on the street and having to figure out if they're dying or not. Like that doesn't really
I would say when the border was open before Trump, it was a lot more common because there was a huge influx of migrants coming through Mexico, stopping in Mexico City on their way up to the border. But since Trump shut down the U.S. border, those people have left.
But it wasn't a drug problem. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, let's go into some comments if we can.
Yes. My co-trader says, sing with me, na, 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 na. Hey, 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 goodbye, because of the troll.
Yeah.
My co-trader also says, universities hated me. I was the one that asked if you want thy sons removed from the anthem, will you get rid of God too? And they didn't want to. And says, allegedly, that was a Lutheran college too. And I don't think they exist really anymore, especially within academia, unless there's very strong specific rigor to maintain the course that they once set as universities.
Even religious institutions want their public funding, so they go along to get along, and then they compromise their first principles.
Rage Against Machine says, we are treated like the redheaded stepchild of Canada. Time to go.
And now they're telling you you're not, that you're beloved. Come on, let's look at the last just 10 years alone, if not the last 100 years.
6 months. 6 months ago they weren't saying this. 4 months ago they weren't saying. They're still not saying it.
Oh, I love you. It's like when your wife is about to leave you. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. Oh, don't get any ideas there, Nat.
Like the trader says, trembles, not Tom will care. Be scared of him. Canadian Spider-Man, hello, says hello to you, Nat and the guy. Hello. Glenn Gunn says Trump is 80. He ain't staying. He ain't. The ideas hopefully will.
But the Trump family is going to be there now behind the scenes. And Barron Trump, when he becomes of age, he's a guaranteed shoo-in for president.
Canadian Spider-Man says, yes, terrible takes as usual. What a cook.
Yeah.
Right, kooky man. Glenn Gunn says he wanted to make one stand and he didn't do any. Michael Trader says Vance Rubio or Rubio Vance will be another success. So, other successors.
And that's what I'm looking forward to. We really need to follow Trump up with this. I'm really hoping we can get the timeline down for the binding referendum. But if it does take longer than we're expecting, we're going to need to really hope Rubio or a JD Vance gets in there, specifically JD Vance.
Sean said, hello, Sean says, now some crazy Canadian wants to date Donald Trump too. I bet he is on Blue Sky trying to pull Trump's hair. Yes. Glenn says Trump will pass the torch, and hopefully so. And Sean says they cleaned up Eugene, Oregon. Why did I say it like that? They cleaned up Eugene, Oregon for the track and field world championship 3 years ago. It was nice for 2 weeks. Same in Vancouver. It was funny.
Same in LA with Newsom when Xi Jinping came over.
Exactly. But it was funny because I was on Instagram and I got, I think it was like a Mexican influencer that lives in Vancouver talking about if anybody else had noticed that there's way less homeless people now on the streets. And it's easy to notice when it's so comment usually. Hold on, really quickly. Pete Griswold says Crowder is technically from Montreal and he hated it because of the French police, which is ridiculous when 11% of the planet speaks French, like I do. And Pete says we should really cut the ties with the royal family to start with, not just symbolical. And again, we need those the real no kings protests
Trump
in
is
Alberta.
pushing back against the globalists, the royal family, the city of London right now, and he's doing a fantastic job. I mean, a lot of people might be critical of certain things that he's doing, but man, on a global basis, this man is pushing back like no other U.S. president in modern times.
Real quick, Dal Robinson says, hi, Nat and Guy. Hello, and Southern Gent Phil says, Nat, LOL, metastasize. That's the word I wanted. True Alberta needs to get the H out of Canada, cure the cancer.
Okay.
That would be a good slogan, too.
Now we're going to go into Alberta and the world, and I think this is an absolutely crucial section today because of what's going on in the EU with them signing over their sovereignty for mass immigration to an unelected body of the EU.
And let's start with the Flair saying, quote, Ireland for a super IPAS center has refugees right.
And we're going to talk about what a super IPAS center is. I took some notes about this. I'll have Nat read them out after we just take a look at the clip. Pause it. I had no idea what a super IPAS center was. So when I seen this clip, I was like, I got to do some research here. Okay, and you can leave it there, and then we'll go down to the notes.
I'll read that out.
This is basically an intake center, but they built over 300 intake centers, I believe, in Ireland alone, and now they're making super intake centers. So,
do you want me to read it all?
Yeah, read it nice and slow so people get an idea, because today is the day these EU countries have lost their sovereignty to an unelected body of the EU. Their individual countries no longer control who they get to let into their country.
So it says super IPAS centers, also called super centers, mega centers, or large reception centers, refer to large-scale accommodation facilities run by Ireland's International Protection and Accommodation Services, or IPAS, for people seeking international protection or asylum seekers. IPAS, part of the Irish Department of Justice, Home Affairs and Migration, provides accommodation, meals, and basic supports to international protection applicants. It operates or contracts over 300 centers nationwide, housing around 33,000 people as of recent figures. The system evolved from the former quote-unquote direct provision. Most centers are smaller and privately run, but quote-unquote super ones are much larger, often on state-owned or repurposed sites.
And what we just talked about were the regular IPAS center. Now go into what the super IPAS center is.
Yeah, so what makes them super? These are significantly bigger facilities, hundreds to thousands of beds designed to handle high demand more efficiently.
And they've built hundreds of these facilities around a small country like Ireland. So imagine what they're doing to every other country in the EU, preparing for this day, which is today, the 12th.
Exactly.
They now have complete control, and they're going to be able to flood in a new voter base into all of these countries. I don't know what these people are going to do, because they're not going to be able to vote their way out of it. There is no voting harder. Their own politicians weren't listening to them. The EU is definitely not going to listen to them, and the EU is backed up by the UN. So what are they going to do? I'm very sympathetic to what's going on in Ireland and people rising up. I usually don't agree with things like that, but I got to say, after what's happening today with taking their sovereignty away, man.
After what just happened also. Again, someone tried to take someone's head off, and that wasn't the first time that it happened.
And the grape gangs for 20 years now.
And that got completely shut down, not shut down, but like got completely X'd out. Like you couldn't talk about it. Hidden. Got completely hidden for 20 years.
Covered up, yeah.
Covered up. Thank you. My brain's not working.
Okay, let's go into the next story. But again, we should be hearing a lot about this, but they are bringing in mass censorship laws into the EU to try to cover up what's going to happen with mass immigration, because the 12th is the day that the EU takes over. So you're expecting to see dozens of stories. They've been preparing for this. They built the mechanisms of these super centers so they can flood them in by the hundreds of thousands. And then they've built the censorship mechanisms so nobody's going to hear about it globally.
And also what's happening recently in Canada. What did Andrew Lawton just try to stop getting passed? Bill C9. And a bunch of other bills that are very similar. Wall Street Apes, do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Wall Street Apes says, quote, Britain's Minister for Northern Ireland is preparing a major crackdown on social media companies to remove all content they say is, quote unquote, illegal. He says anti-immigrant talk causing outrage will no longer be tolerated. Holy yes.
And he's going to pitch it one way, but what's in this bill are all the mechanisms combined with like 5 or 6 other bills where it's going to be really hard to get information on what's going on in the EU right now. They're trying to bring in a whole new voter base within the EU. They know they've lost the normal citizen at this point. The normal citizens are uprising right now and will not vote for this. They need another voting bloc, and they have the mechanism to do it through legal immigration.
The native citizens, let's call them what they are. But let me finish reading because I don't think he explains it. UK Secretary of State for Northern Ireland says, quote, social media companies have a very heavy responsibility. It's what we're going to bring forward new powers next week to make it clear that social media companies need to take down illegal content, particularly when we are facing circumstances such as the ones we've seen in Northern Ireland over the last few days.
Okay, and we can just go into the clip here.
Hold on. This is going to be enforced under the Online Safety Act, which Hillary Clinton flew over and helped to pass in 2023.
Social media companies have a very heavy responsibility. It's why we're going to bring forward new powers next week to make it clear that social media companies need to take down illegal content, particularly when we are facing circumstances such as the ones we've seen in.
And it's not these circumstances they want. They know the 12th was coming. They knew there was going to be a pushback. That's why they timed these censorship bills at the exact same time. They want to shut down the talk, not of the people uprising, but what's happening on the 12th. There's going to be a mass influx of people permanently. There's no way out of this. It's all legislated. Sovereignty is taken away from individual countries and now is put in the hands of the EU officially today.
Northern Ireland over the last 2 days. And I just want to convey to you the sense of fear that has spread amongst ethnic minority people in Northern Ireland because they saw the scenes that you and others reported on their screens. And they've also heard about, for example, people being stopped in their cars on the way to work to be asked what their nationality is.
Let's just take a look here at
Oh, no.
And of course, the one clip I actually wanted today.
Let me see if
their cars on the way to work to be asked what their nationality is.
Let's just take a look here at.
Oh God! And that's right when the clip. Maybe you can try to
reload it.
Reload that one clip there. It's absolute, and why we need to care what's happening in the EU as Mark Carney drives Canada closer and closer. He may very well adopt a lot of these EU policies and sign Canada's sovereignty away on controlling its own immigration. And that's why we need to care. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be the new attack vector for the globalists into the United States.
No, it really does. It just doesn't want to load.
Okay, that's okay. We'll just go into the next article, although that was an important one.
In case you don't believe me, look at that.
That's fine. Let's just go into the next article.
Okay.
X is great usually, so I don't want to get too hard on him.
Melissa says, quote, at the request of the United States, Mark Carney caved and agreed the Gordie Howe Bridge is opening is delayed.
Canada paid for this Gordie Howe Bridge, and America's having none of it. When it comes to USMCA, this is just, I think, a sprinkling of what is to come.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit Bridge Authority said that Canada and the U.S. agreed to postpone opening that bridge so that both sides could resolve outstanding issues. Why did Canada agree to that, and what are the outstanding issues for this country?
Thanks for the question. Well, at the request of the United States, we agreed to delay the opening and take the necessary time to resolve outstanding issues. A few issues.
Detroit Bridge Authority said that Canada and the U.S.
That's just absolutely insane. If they're going to stop that bridge opening, which is already built and would be a big economic corridor, they're definitely going to be willing to play hardball when it comes to the USMCA.
And lastly, I think you want to talk about this and also explain that we will be starting a bit earlier tomorrow because Martin Offel says, quote, crews are putting up large security fences around the White House ahead of Saturday night's Flag Day UFC night. No chances being taken for the first fight on the southern lawn.
Yeah,
South lawn.
Tomorrow they're going to have the UFC at the White House. I used to teach jiu-jitsu and wrestling, so I'm a huge UFC fan. This is probably the biggest event. I say the card's not the greatest. That being said, the fact that it's at the White House is going to be absolutely massive. Tomorrow, our stream tomorrow will be on at 4 p.m. I want to make sure we're done by 6 so I can watch the UFC White House card. You don't have to buy pay-per-view anymore. I think it's free on Paramount Plus.
Or if you have Paramount Plus.
But Paramount Plus is like $5. This would normally be $100 event.
$9. And it's just them putting up fencing.
Yeah, and you can stop it there. There was rumors it was going to be canceled because there's been multiple threats made against the event. So it's going to be very interesting if Trump actually shows up or not.
Of course. But because you just wanted to put it there to tell people we will be starting later tomorrow.
Yeah, 4 o'clock is our start time tomorrow.
And I don't care. But I'm not a
You'll be watching it, Nat.
I'm going to have to watch it, yes, but I don't want to.
I'm not watching. Usually I'll just tune in for the last couple, the main events. But for tomorrow's, I'm watching them all.
But now we'll go back to your comments and then to RUMBLE. Canadian Spider-Man says, we need a Trump and ICE and Doge in Canada. Yeah, of course. Is that ever going to happen? No. Glenn Gunn says he will leave the U.S. in good hands. Hopefully so. And hopefully the psychopath that is Gavin Newsom won't get in somehow because we're seeing how things already work within California and Los Angeles with Spencer Pratt. So maybe they have new plans for what's coming, hopefully not in 2028, but I wouldn't put it past them again. They've already done it once, twice. Glenn Gunn says, mainstream media props get paid, including Tom, all clickbait. Yes, unfortunately. And Sean says, homeless are out of control here now. All over, because Glenn Gunn says here in Calgary as well. In Vancouver, it was insane, and it was, I would say, like the initial point, because that's where they started the whole safe injection sites thing, and then kind of propagated from there. That's where they closed the first insane asylums, et cetera, So
well, and I will say this: after the midterms, I believe Trump is absolutely going to crush Canada. They're looking, the globalists and the EU are looking at Canada as the attack vector to weaken the United States. And man, people in Alberta that want independence should not be angry when he starts coming after the USMCA and other things, because this is going to massively help Alberta independence, I believe.
True. Michael Drader says those Trump 2028 ball caps were genius because of the children and grandchildren, Eric, Don Jr., Ivanka, Barron, murderer's row of base family members. And I was always saying when the whole like Trump 2028 hats came out and everybody was freaking out, I was saying, what about like right before campaign actually does start, they switch the hats from red to pink, and it's Trump 2028 and it's Ivanka, and that way it would be the first female president. I don't like her that much, but it would just be funny that like then the feminist liberals would be like, oh, but like it would be the first female president, but it's a Trump. The conflicting stuff would be funny. It's not going to happen.
Why?
The Ivanka Trump thing?
Yeah.
Because she continues to say she doesn't want to be involved. And then there's JD and Marco, which makes a lot more sense.
I'm not saying it's not possible. He was literally setting her up for that. That was the rumor behind the scenes. Now, I don't think it's going to happen right now, but the reason she took certain positions and she did certain things within the administration, I think he was actually preparing her for 2028. I don't think it's going to happen in 2028, but they want her to be the first female president of the United States.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it could happen. I mean, we talked about it a lot before, but Pick and Pan says Mr. Carney may be one of those silver spooners. And also says, true, the EU was created for what is happening now. Exactly.
And I can see I can see them trying to put her in a vice presidential role first in order to build up her resume. Trump is specifically trying to build up her resume. And the Trump that's guaranteed to get in there is Barron whenever he comes of age.
Sean says the EU wants Canada and Carney as just the unself-aware dude to make it happen.
And I think Carney's very aware, and he's the one pushing a lot of this. I think he's going to be one of the highest-ranking globalists after this thing's done if he's successful at it. JD Vance does get in there, he's going to be very aware of what's going on because Trump's very aware of the attack vector of Canada right now.
Mm-hmm. And Sean says they can go home. I've been told that, but they can actually do it. I'm guessing homeless people. Sean says from the Civil War to World War II, the USA proved it doesn't need the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And instead is used to prop up the rest of the world too, I would say.
Well, and what I would like to see is, man, it would be great if Canada would get on board with this Western Hemisphere thing. And it would be great to see if Canada, the United States, and Russia could make an alliance, because Russia is the weakest of the three major world powers. And that would kind of isolate China a lot more. And they could build a bridge from Alaska to Russia. It's very doable right now, especially if you build it under the sea with, what's the Boring Company from Elon Musk. They've talked about that already, but that would increase trade relations and everything else and kind of really isolate China.
Sean says, it's funny, Carney is the least self-aware man I have ever seen. He single-handedly caused the bridge to be closed. Yeah. Stephen Jensen says, thanks everyone. YouTube, Alberta Freedom First for my music. And yes, I wanted to bring it up. That's why I was distracted. I wanted to bring it up once again. Go subscribe to Stephen Jensen. There's 21 subscribers. Let's get it to a lot higher number than that. And again, bringing up newer and again, music.
I've seen a lot of AI songs that are absolutely crap. This is I was very impressed by the one song that I did hear. Then again, I did work in an Irish bar, and my favorite movie is Braveheart, and man, it really hit on the heartstrings.
Yes, but it is good, and thank you, Stephen Jensen, for sharing it with us, and also everybody go subscribe. Hold on. Pete says it is Trump's last term no matter what. We need that for Canadian primes, Vanadium primes? Not sure what that means. A2.0, hello, and thank you for being here. Says, shouldn't Tom Mulcair show the color of his equity card? We know if, just so we know if we should take him seriously.
Trump's a bit of a kingmaker right now. Imagine when he goes back into the private industry and the kind of connections he's going to have. Man, he's going to be wielding a lot of power from behind the scenes, along with all of his family members as well. He's got a lot of restrictions on him right now as president. All those come off once he's no longer president.
Pete Griswold, says Tom Mulcair should be audited like most liberal politicians. Yes, exactly. Pete also says NDP is just a liberal off branch like the absolutely useless progressives in the US. True. Smitty says, I can't read that one, sorry, but I brought it up quickly. David Bird says Tom Mulcair is a delusional communist just like all the liberals in the NDP.
Yeah, and it's he goes, we already know the results of the midterms. All we have to do is wait. We're just placating Trump at this point. He's not going to be in there after 6 months. Oh, we're going to be able to shut him out in 2 years. He's gone. He's going to wield massive power behind the scenes.
William Robel says, howdy, Nat and Guy. I'm very late, but had to drop in and hit the like. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here. Pete says, who paid for the No Kings protest? Soros, Ford Foundation, Warren Buffett, and the Tides Foundation funded by Brookfield and Carney. And that is why we also need a real No Kings protest against King Charles and Canada being part of the Commonwealth for Alberta independence.
Again, anytime King Charles shows up in your country, No Kings protest, especially in Canada, because he is the King of Canada.
And hold on, William Robel says, did you see where the SpaceX IPO happened? And SpaceX is actually valued with a higher value than the entire country of Canada, especially nowadays.
It's the third highest opening for an IPO. I think it's the third most how do you put that? The third most valued company in I believe in the world. Because we profiled that the other day. There was like a 2-minute clip. Somebody was talking about it.
And lastly, hold on. Smitty says the contracts with that bridge are set up to continuously drain taxpayer money, as is most of what happens in Canada.
Yeah.
Satis Maximus says, just saw Canadians boot the U.S. national anthem. Liberals destroyed the country. Yes, they did. And also says just Barron. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Barron will be the one, the heir apparent. Where are we? I don't know which one to read and which one not to. Okay, last one. Southern Gentville, LA, USA, Quebec, Canada, I guess, says, Guy, you are correct. There's talk about the underwater channel between Alaska and Russia.
Yeah, and like Biden pushed Russia and China together at the hip. If we can build a bridge to Russia, Russia is an Orthodox country. if you have to pick between Russia and China, Russia at least has natural resources and other things like that. It could be a major trading partner with the United States. Like you have to isolate China at this point.
But now we're heading over quickly to RUMBLE. There's the 30-second Waitscreen. Before you head over there with us, please don't forget to subscribe here. Maybe we already got there, but we're trying to get to 3,100 subscribers and hopefully sooner to 3,500. That's the next goal.
We hit 3,100 exactly.
Thank you so much to everybody to that one person that did subscribe. But again, don't forget to do so and hit the like button. We'll see you in 30 seconds over on RUMBLE. We do still have a few stories to do there and comments to read.
Let's get ready to rumble!